Good afternoon, Kathy.
Good afternoon, Dave.
What's your full name, Kathy?
Kathleen Susan Hodgins.
Yeah, and what do you do here at GCASA?
Well, I am the Assistant Director of the Forensics and Satellite Services that we offer in Orange County.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also, Council Dependency Counselor.
Uh-huh. And I sent out an email, I think it was last week, asking if any staff would talk with me about the idea of substance abuse being a family disease, and you graciously agreed. So can you describe this concept for me? I mean, what does it mean when you say that substance abuse is a family disease?
Well, we look at addiction as a disease, and we look at the disease concept of addiction, meaning that there's symptoms that people with addiction have. So therefore, those symptoms not only affect the person, but it also affects the people that are around them, friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
And so we look at the disease concept. It does have a significant impact on family members because they also get the symptoms, meaning that if the some of the behaviors the addicts, the people with addictions display, trickles down to the family members. And then specific roles can develop, such as the enabler, the codependent, from the children. You have the hero child, the mascot, the scapegoat, and the lost child. And those are some of the roles that come out of families that experience the disease concept of addiction.
So it might affect one's spouse or one's children and
Yes.
the way they interact and
Yes, most definitely.
behave
Most definitely.
with each other. Let's use a classic example of the husband that's drinking too much and
Yes.
might have a serious drinking problem, and his wife is struggling with his drinking. So what kind of symptoms might you see in a spouse in a situation like that? Can you describe for us maybe 3 or 4 or 5 things that you would notice about that person's thoughts and feelings and behavior as they try to deal with the drinking spouse?
First of all, they can take on that role thinking it's their fault that they're drinking, that they can think that they're responsible for the person's behavior, why they're drinking.
Mm-hmm.
They can sort of withdraw from the outside because they don't want people to really know what's going on in the family, so they isolate. They just take on some of the roles of the person with struggling with the disease, meaning that they will isolate. They will take some that make it a personal thing, lose their own identity because their primary focus becomes on the person with the addiction and not themselves. So they begin to lose themselves.
There's a certain amount of embarrassment or shame.
Shame, yeah.
So they
because they
kind
don't
of
want people
withdraw
to
and
really know
isolate.
what's going on, so they sort of isolate. They don't do the activities they maybe normally were involved in because their primary focus becomes on that person, and they lose their identity. So those are some of the things that happens with specifically the spouse involved with a person with the addiction.
So what do you recommend for people that are in that situation?
I highly recommend themselves to get help. I recommend Al-Anon. There's an Al-Anon program which is for friends and family of addiction that sort of helps the person learn how to deal with this whole disease concept, because they don't know. It's very very difficult sometimes, and they need that support from other people that are going through the same thing, and to get themselves back, to get their own identity back, and focus on self rather than the person with addiction.
It's nice to know you're not all alone.
That is, and the extra help is really, really helpful.
I think a lot of times you were talking about the embarrassment and the shame, and people feel like this has only happened to me.
Right, right.
And you go to an Al-Anon meeting or you talk to somebody who has some experience with this, and they say, oh, no, this is kind of typical of what people go through when they find themselves in this situation. And so people feel kind of reassured and maybe a little more hopeful that somebody can understand.
Most definitely.
And that there might be some help.
Yeah, most definitely.
Do you ever help people in this situation?
I do.
As a counselor?
I do. We bring family members in, and we do educate them, first of all, on the disease concept of addiction, and some of the behaviors that go along with it, and how it does impact them. And they are real thankful for the services because they don't, a lot of people don't realize that it does have a significant impact on them until they start really talking about it and saying, yeah, this is what's been going on and this is how I've been feeling, and they like to be heard and what they can do about it. So, yeah, it does.
Now, let me ask you one further question. Sometimes, we don't use this word so much anymore in substance abuse treatment, the idea of denial, but a lot of times the person that's using is reluctant to get help or to even admit there's a problem.
Most definitely.
So somebody who's living in the household is more aware that there's a problem before even the person who has the problem is aware that there's a problem. And sometimes the family member then tries to get the using family member to go for help, and they refuse to do it.
Yes.
So then they feel like there isn't anything they can do.
Right.
So what would you say to somebody who's in that situation?
Well, actually, you can't force a person to get help. They have to really acknowledge it themselves. It doesn't work that way. I know a lot of people watch the intervention and think if they do this big intervention, but the person has to seek out treatment for themselves. But yes, of course, the family members, they feel lost and what am I going to do? Again, going to help themselves. First of all, primarily, I would recommend, see what you can do. Go to a meeting, see what other people do in your same situation. Seek that help. Al-Anon, again, is a good start because it gives you an idea how to deal with the disease concept of addiction. You can't force anybody to get treatment, and what you can do is you can help yourself.
Now let me put you on the spot right here on this videotape.
Sure.
You work for GCASA and Albion, is that correct?
I do.
And you know me, I live in Brockport.
Yes.
So if somebody came up to me and said, my spouse or my child or my parent has a substance abuse problem, but they won't go for help, do you know anybody I could talk to? Could I refer them to you?
Sure. Could do that.
Would you see them?
I would. I would.
And what would you do when they called and made an appointment and came in to see you?
I would talk to them about what's going on in the house and what they've been doing, how they're caring for themselves. What are they doing for self, and give them some helpers on what's really going on and what the person with addiction, what's going on with them as well, and give them just to talk about what's going on, and again, refer them to some additional help. Self-help groups are always important, but just give them some support and some ideas how to deal with it.
That's super. Do you like what you do?
I love my job.
Do you?
I do.
What do you like so much about it?
I like helping. I like helping and giving, just listening to people and giving them some, some suggestions how to help self, to give people a sense of empowerment so they can help themselves and become healthier.
Well, I think you know how much we appreciate having you here and all your good work and your skills and your knowledge and overall your kindness to people.
Thank you, Dave.
People do look forward to seeing you, and they usually have a good experience because they feel like they finally met somebody that understands what they're going through and is willing to be there for them and help them see it through. So thanks so much for spending the time with me today and talking a little bit about substance abuse as a family disease. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.